If you're struggling to pre-drill straight holes, then I may have a perfect jig for you, not only for normal straight drill bits, but also for Forstner bits and anything in between. So if you do want to learn how to make this very simple jig, then watch the video. As you've seen, it's a very simple jig, but it's a great little helper to have around your workshop. So I've got my plywood sheet over here, that's 12 millimeters in thickness. Now, if you do want to use this jig with Forstner bits, that's the main design for it, then it needs to be at least that 12 millimeters in thickness. Anything less than that, well, you're gonna have a bit of a problem of setting the layers correctly. With my table saw, I'm ripping down a strip that's 100 millimeters. Now I'm going to divide this strip into 3 pieces, and they need to be at 170 millimeters long. To make sure that all 3 pieces are the exact same length, I'm using my DIY stop block for the miter saw. I do have a full video if you want to check it out, how to make it yourself. Now we need to create the 45 angled cutouts. So we know this is 10 centimeters. Let's mark up 5 centimeters. That's going to be right in the middle. And then we're just going to marry up 45 degrees with the corners of this piece. And there we go. And what I'm going to do now, I'm actually going to connect all 3 pieces together so it's easier to cut out, making sure the cutouts will be exactly same on all 3 pieces. I'm just using painter's tape to have all 3 pieces together. And now we can cut out the middle with a bandsaw or anything else you've got. In my case, I'm using my jigsaw that's built into the router table attachment I've got for my table saw. Now if you want to find out how I made that, I've got a video on it. Check out the description of this video to find the link for that video. Now this step is optional, I just don't want to have those really sharp edges, so I'm just going to cut them off with my miter saw. Now we need to figure out a sliding solution for our pieces. Now I'm going to be using a bolt and a knob like this. So I've marked up this line 2 centimeters away from this edge and 12 centimeters long in total. With a 7 millimeter drill bit, as this bolt is 6 millimeters, I'm going to drill 3 holes, 1, 2 and another one more or less in the middle here. That will give us this sliding ability. In this piece there, we're going to mount our bolt just like so in the middle hole. However, the other 2 holes in the other 2 pieces will allow us to create a channel between them. Now to cut out the channel, that's really down to you. You can use a router table and a router bit, or like I'm actually using again my jigsaw to cut it out. I find it the easiest and the quickest way to do. Okay, so we've got our 3 pieces there with the cutout in the middle. However, if we just had that one bar, you know, as you're going to be sliding, it's going to go absolutely everywhere. So what we're going to do, I'm going to make a channel in this one. I'm going to make 2 channels, one at the top, one at the bottom, and another channel right through here on my table saw. And I'm going to cut a piece of this, I think that's 3 millimeter plywood, to go inside of that. So that will act as our guide for the whole jig. I've set the height of the blade to 4 millimeters. Now the piece of plywood is a little bit thicker than the curve of my blade. So as you can see, I'm slightly shifting the fence of my table saw just to widen the channel. So I've got 2 pieces like this, and they're gonna go, both of them, in the middle piece, okay? The one that we've got two grooves, okay? The top and the bottom only have one groove each, as we don't need any more. Now, the way you can secure it, you can use wood glue. However, I think a CA glue will do absolutely fine, and it's gonna be a little bit quicker. So a bead of CA, whack the piece inside, leave it for a few seconds, and we can start putting the jig together. I'm going to be using a bolt like this to hold everything together, but obviously the hole is a little bit too small, so I'm just going to use a chamfer bit to remove some of the material there, and then with a brute force I'm going to force it inside. And now finally we can put the jig together just like that, stacking each piece on top. And there you go, the jig is completed. So how does it work? Well, basically you can just slide these on to give additional support to your drill bit. Let me just show you a couple of examples how you can use this. First of all, normal drill bits, making sure we're going to have nice straight holes. Okay, let's level everything out, lock this in place so all the levels are flush to each other. As you can see, we've got the guides just in there, and basically this will guide our drill bit in a nice and steady way, just like so. However, you then may say, well, that's not very deep. No, not to worry. What we can do, we're gonna slide away the top layer just like that. And now we can go deeper. Very simple solution, but so far it actually works pretty great. But did we actually manage to get a perfect and straight hole? Let's check that out. Absolutely straight hole. Same thing with larger drill bits. Again, that 90-degree corner gives us a lot of support for small and for larger bits. But where this jig really shines is from something like a Forstner bit, for example. So how do we actually use this jig with a Forstner bit? Well, basically we are pushing the top two pieces to the Forstner bit itself, to that shank bit, lock it in place. And as you can see, the bottom layer gives us the space for the Forstner bit head, whereas the top two layers will make sure our Forstner bit goes in nice and straight. And if you do need to go deeper, no problem at all. You just undo this and then you got one layer less, or actually you can go all three layers out as well. So you got only one layer to guide you with no issues at all. And of course, same thing with larger Forstner bits. The bottom layer, that's our spacer, and then the other two will actually guide our Forstner bit down, making sure we've got nice and perfect hole. And in both cases, you've got absolutely perfect straight holes with no issues at all. And of course this will work with other bits like a chamfer bit. This will also become very, very handy if, for example, you want to drill a hole in a dowel, where the bottom layer, that's just going to be as a support, a guide, and then the top two layers will actually guide our drill bit. And now we've got a very nice and steady platform to drill our hole. And of course this will be very handy, for example, if you've got a post like this, you can use the bottom again as a guide, and then the other two pieces that will go on top. However, I'm not sure if you already noticed my mistake that I did with this jig. You can probably see it now, okay? Because I've glued on that piece to the middle part, that's not gonna sit flush on top of this piece. So if you're gonna be making this jig, don't make my mistake. Make sure that sliver here goes on the bottom piece, and then this one remains on the middle piece, okay? That will be fine. So yes, I'm now just gonna try to dig that piece out and glue it on the bottom. However, the whole principle of this jig is actually very good and quite handy. Now this jig, this design is actually not mine. I didn't come up with this. I've seen it on the internet a few times and I really wanted to give it a go to see, well, if it actually is gonna work. And to be fair, it seems that it does the trick. Apart from my small error, everything else seems to be very good. Of course, you know, the material we're going to be using is plywood, and over time, as you're going to be using your drill bits, well, that channel there will get deepened and out of shape. But hey, it's simple enough to recreate a layer or all the layers if they get damaged. From that perspective, it's quite simple. So if you don't have a pillar drill, or maybe your project that you're currently working is actually very large and you can't take it to the pillar drill, this could be a very neat and simple solution. Not sure who's the original maker of this jig, but hey, kudos to them. This actually seems to be working quite well, and yeah, it's simple to make, and that's what we definitely like. So yeah, I can fully recommend this little handy jig. At this point, I just wanted to say a massive thank you to my Patreons for the ongoing support. Now, before you go, check out these two cool playlists. Plenty of great videos already there. So click on them and maybe you'll find your next one to watch. For today, that's all. Thank you so much. Take care.